Hello and welcome to this spur of the moment Radio Beaver. What do we call it? It's not a podcast, is it? Videocast. As we look ahead to this week's FA Cup action. So joining me, Dave from Radio Beaver or Hampton Richmond, is Rob, part of the Radio Beaver and Hampton Richmond media team.
Good evening, everyone.
Hello to you, Rob. And we also have Tom, who guests on Torquay Talk.
Good evening. Thanks for having me on.
You're very welcome. As I say, an informal get-together, nothing organised, no formal club business here. And just to be clear, of course, we don't represent any of the official opinions of either club in this little get-together. We're here as fans just to have a chat about what is a important day, I think, in the FA Cup for both clubs, probably for slightly different reasons. So it is the fourth qualifying round in the Emirates FA Cup. Hampton, 2 games so far to get here. Rob, I think you've watched both games, Bognor Regis away and Poulton Rovers at home. What have the Beavers done so far to get to this stage?
Well, we came into the competition as we seem to do these days in the second qualifying round. And as we said, went down to Bognor Regis Town and ended up having a comfortable 2-0 victory, I think it was. Was it 2-0? Yes, I think it was 2-0. I think it was 2-0. I just had this random thought it might have been 2-1. But anyway, so yeah, and reward for that trip to the South Coast was then a home tie against Poulton Rovers from the Southern League Division 1 South, I think. Anyway, 2 steps below the Beavers, and it ended up, first half being a bit close, and then in the second half, the Beavers just went away with it and ended up 6-1 winners.
Yeah. Just to confirm, Rob, it was Bognor Regis 0, Hampton 2, Shacumbi and Bragg. Bragg getting an own goal on 86 minutes. Goal.
That was that. Yeah, that was the one.
Yeah, so I think it would be fair, and Tom obviously will come on to Torquay in a second, but I think it was fair to say Hampton, when we went to Bognor, were not really that hopeful, if I'm honest.
Not especially.
Bognor were going well, and
they were, and we weren't necessarily going as well as we could have been. And as a result, there was a few, possibly there could be a draw here. We might have to bring them back to Beverley during the week because, let's not forget Bognor Regis, are a good side in the East Mid League, and for them on their own ground, a very nice ground, it was not really surprising that you sort of think, there's a chance of Hampton going down here if we're not careful. But they put in a professional performance, early goal settled them down. And from then on, there was a few moments where it was a bit on edge. Bognor had their chances, but then so did Hampton. And, the Beavers got lucky inside the last 10 minutes with the own goal that made it look comfortable, but perhaps not as comfortable as it, as the scoreline would suggest.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, I think the Poulton game, there's probably not too much to say about it, is there? Because, a 6-1 win, I think it was just one of those days for Poulton, wasn't it?
I think it was. I mean, they'd had a bit of a difficult journey up. I think they'd struggled a little with the traffic on the M4. And, so they, it was a slightly delayed kickoff. But, once the game got started, I think in the end, the class and the fitness told, I think we got, was it 4 goals inside the last half hour? I think it was.
Yeah.
So it does sort of suggest that, it might have been just a step too far for Poulton. But then again, we had met them once before and we did need to sort something out from that first game.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say, I think the last meeting with Poulton was that FA Cup and we lost.
Exactly, it was exactly the same stage of the competition. I think it was 2003.
Yeah,
I think it was before my time, but it was a case of the team travelled down there. There was, it was almost like a sick bucket of a bus, and people, players that were sick and not really fit enough to play, but the match still went ahead, and Poulton won. So we just had to sort that one out, and I think we laid that to one to rest pretty well.
Yeah. And so, I mean, that's the Beavers' journey so far. 2 games played in the FA Cup. I'd say 2 reasonably comprehensive wins, but like we say, they could have gone either way, really, especially the Bognor game. And as we look ahead to the fourth qualifying round, Vanarama National League sides coming in. We've been unlucky to draw Torquay at Plainmoor. Tom, it's obviously not the season you want to be meeting a side from the division below, really.
No, it's been a very tough start to the season. We lost a lot of very good players over the summer, and recruitment this season has turned out to be rather poor, in my opinion. And unfortunately, the performances we're putting on at the moment haven't inspired confidence. There's not been a game yet this season I've watched and thought we've dominated that from start to finish. We deserve to win that. We played York last weekend. You know, Dave, I was there. And we just, as soon as we concede a goal, we crumble. There's nothing, as soon as we go a goal down, I think we haven't actually, I think our points return from going a goal down is nothing. And there's definitely some issues in the squad. Maybe the tactics aren't right. There's a lack of pace, in my opinion. It's just tough to watch at the moment. And we're sort of going in, we discussed this on our most recent video with Talky Talk, almost as underdogs. And I think the connotation for us is this is a must-win game for us, because if we cannot beat Hampton and Richmond Borough, then I just can't see any light at the end of the tunnel. And this could be a huge game in terms of managerial news as well, because Gary Johnson, I mean, he came in not so long after you beat us last time in the National League South at Plainmoor, and he turned our club completely the right way. I mean, we'd had years of just neglect, and it was just down. And as soon as Gary Johnson came in, our form turned. We won that league by 10 points. The COVID season before everything was shut down, we were mid-table, possibly had a chance at the playoffs, but it was unlikely. And then during that season where we were all stuck at home, we had the best season I can ever sort of remember us playing. We had some quality players, some real quality players. And I think we were about 13 points clear at Christmas. Then we had a lot of injuries, which has been a reoccurring theme, definitely in the last 3 or 4 seasons for us. And our promotion challenge for the title sort of tallied off, finished in second place, got to the playoff final, lost it on penalties after the keeper scored in the 94th minute. And that's just, you wondered as a Torquay fan if that was the moment. And deep down, I think that was the moment, because since then, we had a rather disappointing season last season, finished 11th. And we don't normally do mid-table, we're either up there or we're fighting at the bottom. And sadly, this year, we lost so many good players. Connor Lemonade-Evans, Joe Lewis, Ben Winter, Armani Little to, League One, League Two clubs. One went to Barnet. I think it was Ben Winter went to Barnet because he wanted to be closer to London. He's definitely a Football League quality player. And the recruitment, we've brought in some, on paper, talented players, but from teams who were struggling last year, Dover, Kings Lynn. And it's just not happening so far. And it doesn't look like it's going to improve at the moment. And as a Torquay fan, it's very concerning, because a defeat on Saturday, and I dread to think what's going to happen to us going forward.
And I think it's like we've spoken about many times already. And I know you absolutely don't mean any disrespect to Hampton based on what you're saying. It's that generalization, isn't it? If a club comes to you from the league below, you should be beating them. I mean, I guess we could probably all agree it's the FA Cup, and goodness knows what can happen. I guess that's the joy of it, and league forms go out the window, which I guess is a saving grace for both of us, really. In
our last few years in the FA Cup, first, I think we've lost to Maidstone when they were in the National League South away. Last season, we had Havant at home, conceded in the 90th minute, had a replay, lost 4-2, played absolutely appalling football. Our track record in the FA Cup against lower league opposition is not very good. And I don't know if that's a mentality thing, or maybe just our opposition have been more up for it than we have. We are so due a good cup run. You have Plymouth, Argyle and Exeter. I mean, Plymouth have had, if they had Man United, or I think that might have been Exeter, that Man United. They've had some really big cup ties. And if you're a team like us at the moment where finances are tight, you need, and you're not going to have a good season, you need the revenue coming in. I mean, we're a club that's £3.5 million in debt at the moment. Owners who view it more as a business than a football club. Yeah, it's a big debt. And just our record is appalling. And we used to be really good in the FA Cup. We got to the third round, fourth round quite a few times. But it's, as a Torquay fan, like I said earlier, I have at the moment, I would say you guys are favourites because, in my opinion, and I've been to the Beverley a few times volunteering there. I think you play some really good football, and I think your league position is a little bit false, in my opinion, because you've put on some really good performances and maybe not got quite what you've deserved.
Yeah, I was actually going to come on to that, and obviously we just talked about Torquay's league form because you haven't got a cup form to tell us about yet. I will say and Rob, the league season, I think. Maybe just discounting the opening game where we gave Cheshire the only points they've had of the season so far. The league season's been, I think Tom's just summarised it for us.
Pretty much. Because I mean, we've got quite a number of games, got quite late on into the game in a really good position, and then just conceded silly goals late on. I think I looked at this a couple of weeks ago. And I got the impression that about over three-quarters, well, probably about 70% of the goals we've conceded this season have been in the last half hour. So up to that point, we're playing well. We're in ring games. The games are there to be won. And then just in that, in the last closing stages, it just something seems to go wrong. Concentration drops, silly mistakes. And we end up either coming away with nothing or, losing any points that we had. But in recent weeks, it has come back. We've only lost once in the last 6. So that's not so bad. I mean, losing to Dartford is no disgrace. Not at Prince's Park, anyway. So, it's not, the form's not bad, but it's not as good as it could be. And, this is one of those matches where, as you quite rightly said, Tom, you would expect to win that. We would expect to be going to Torquay and thinking, well, perhaps the best we can get is a replay back at our place. But I was looking this afternoon at the bookies, and it's pretty much Torquay at evens, Hampton at 2-1 in a 2-horse race. That's as near as makes no difference, nothing. That's that's the way it's been seen externally. So who knows what's going to happen on Saturday afternoon?
It's going to be either a really exciting game or a boring 0-0, isn't it? Let's be honest.
Yeah, true.
We'll see. So,
yeah,
I mean, that's
our only 2 wins have been away from home, and they were we play. I was at the Halifax away game. I think they must have had about 25, 30 shots. Didn't score. We've scored 1 from maybe 2 attempts that we had the entire game. And where else do we know? It was Southend we won away as well, and that's probably one of the better games we played. But I mean, it was still, we made it hard work, and the difference was we managed to get a second goal, which turned out to be key because they got a late goal and put us right under the cosh. Our home form this season has just been so poor. I mean, the opening game we played Oldham at home, which was a tough game in itself because you weren't quite sure with the new ownership at Oldham how they were going to do, and my view is, apart from Wrexham, who should win this league by a good 20, 30 points with the money they're spending, there's not many teams that I've looked at and seen live and thought they're better than us. They're a better footballing side than us. I think we're just making so many silly mistakes and giving so much space. And it's going to be down as well. We had a couple of loan signings come in at York, but I guess it's the same regard. Like we were talking, Dave, just a couple of days ago about your goalkeeper who's on loan from QPR, and he's cup tied. And if a couple of our loan players that have brought in, if they are cup tied, then we are extremely short.
So I guess we won't know till the team sheets are out on 2:00 on Saturday, and probably a similar scenario for the Beavers for Hampton. We know we're still or have been missing a couple of key players. Alan Julian is still out injured. Dean coming back to fitness. We won't know if he's available Saturday or not yet. Probably until the team sheets are done.
No. I mean, we know we came back onto the bench last week, but I think it was a case of Gary McCann wouldn't have used him unless he really had to do. So, like I say, Dean's had another week, so that's going to be a great help to him. I'm still not entirely certain that Gary would start him this week in a game like this. He might stick, with the central defensive pairings that he's been using the last, couple of weeks. I mean, when he's been playing Tommy Davis and Rory Donaldson. Now, Rory's it's not really his best position, but he does well. So, it's going to be very much a case of what Gary feels is, what Dean's fitness is. And, but we can't complain about the keepers from QPR. They've had some great games. And, we just need to get Alan Julian fit again. And that could still be a few weeks off.
Yeah. And QPR have been a great help to us. And obviously one of your loanees, Tom, is from QPR as well. So, a bit of a
we've had a
theme
couple
running
from QPR. Yeah, we've had a few from QPR. Last year we had Stephen Duke McKenna, who absolute baller. I think he played in your friendly with the under 23s and he scored. And that is what we are missing so much in our teams. That it's smart, talented individual player who's got pace, knows how to score a goal, knows what runs to make. And I mean, I think we had who else did we have? We had some guy Armstrong up front, Sinclair Armstrong, and he was a young guy, but my God, he was strong. He would chase everything, physical lad, scored goals, and now I think he's at least at the beginning of the season, I think he made an appearance for the first team at QPR. Been on the bench a few times, but yeah, it's just that we've had some good loan signings. When we won the National League South, we had a great link with Bristol City, and we had a lot of talented young players come from Bristol City, and we've lost that link now. And it's just the problem with us, especially geography-wise as well. Down, it's so hard to attract good quality players to the southwest of the country. A lot of people aren't willing to relocate down there, not for a big fee anyway. Not to try and use that as an excuse, but I think post-COVID, it's become more difficult to attract good non-league players to come down. You look at clubs in our league like Boreham Wood, for example. I would argue we're a much bigger club than Boreham Wood are, but they've got the Arsenal ladies link, and they've got so many clubs in London, good Premier League clubs that they can loan signings off, and they're doing really well. And fair play to them. But down in the southwest, it's a different story. It's tough. Our injury record as well, I mentioned it earlier, it's just been awful. We had on the Tuesday night game we had recently against Maidenhead, we had a rather nasty injury, and now we've got a player missing for 3-4 months. I think it was Kieran Evans from Cardiff on loan, and he's probably been the one sort of good consistent player that's actually growing into games. He's out injured. We had Ryan Hansen, I believe, who just came back from a concussion against Wealdstone away, gets on against York, gets hit in the face. So, and with the concussion protocols now, it's, they're much more serious about it. And obviously that takes time. I've never known it, how unlucky we've been with injuries, like to really good players. And that's definitely been a factor into why, in my opinion, we've not been pushing as we have been for the last couple of years. It's just hard. It's hard to look up at the moment. You're bottom of the National League after 13, 14 games. You've got to look at yourself, and I hope some of the players are, and think, am I ready for the fight? And a lot of the general consensus again is, if we can't, and no, I mean, there's no disrespect at all. Hampton's a wonderful club, great people, but I think honestly, if we can't beat you guys over 2 games potentially, then changes are going to have to be made. But because of what Gary has done to change the club around, there's still that certain fan base that want him to stay because they believe he's the best man to turn it around. And but of a man of that, the experience that he's had in the game, I mean, he's managed up to championship level, took Yeovil up to the championship. Is it right to get rid of a man with that experience, or do you have to get to a point where if you reach a certain point and things aren't turning around, granted, there's no money to spend, and you have no idea who's going to come in and do a better job with the players you've got. But the recruitment this summer has just been awful. Last year, you got the benefit of the doubt because of COVID, and our season did prolong to the playoff final. And then 6 weeks later, you're back into the start of the season. But unfortunately, this season, there's no excuse.
Yeah, no, and it's really tough. And again, I guess we would have a similar scenario, if we'd lost against Poulton, I suppose, really, in some respects. We should not the same, obviously, with our Gary, in the same scenario as you find yourselves in at the moment. But so I don't think any Hampton fan would take offence to what you said, Tom. I think we'd be very, similar. And again, there's always that difficulty, isn't there, in loyalty to managers who've done an amazing job for you in the past, but have they taken you as far as they can now, I suppose? And I guess we'll just have to see what this game does on Saturday, won't we?
Indeed.
I have a belief Torquay can turn it around, to be honest, if we were talking about your league. Obviously, everything after Saturday. But, the league's a long season. It's a long old season, and we've got, obviously, this 4 weeks strange scenario now where we're going to be the only football playing in the country while the World Cup's taking place. So, who knows what that's going to do for crowds and for support that brings to the team. That can drive it on, and I think that our fans can help push things over the line on Saturday if we, a good bit of noise from our 60, 70 travelling supporters will be quite a buzz for the players, because Plainmoor is not.
Do you think that's all you'll bring? I would have.
I think we're like about 50, 60 so far on the sales. So, we may have a few more on there, but appreciate that the costs and the travel is just a pain.
Yeah,
of course.
And I'll be happy if we take 60 to 80. Because that's pretty consistent with what we take to away games, so that would be great. And I think I guess the point I was just saying is the running out of Plainmoor. There aren't really, Rob, correct me if I'm wrong, there's not really any National League South grounds other than maybe Ebbsfleet that's to the scale of a and again, no offense Torquay, but an old big football league ground. There's no real.
No, there isn't. I mean, like I said, you mentioned Ebbsfleet. The Crabble down at Dover's quite respectable.
I guess we've not been there yet.
We haven't been there yet. I mean, I can only vaguely recall ever being to the Crabble once or twice. I mean, it's a lovely away day. But in talks of, grounds like Plainmoor, I don't think there is.
Again, it's an experience for our players to be running out there, and I can probably name a handful that will have played in such venues. Dean Inman and so on. And I'd imagine most have played at National League or at bigger grounds, but maybe not with 2,000 people in it. So that's an atmosphere in itself, and I guess
it is.
Yeah,
that can work two ways, can't it? It can either do one of two things. Your players will be used to having that noise and support around them. Our guys will not be quite so used to it, so it can either intimidate or it can massively spur on.
True.
Yeah. Well, we do try and make a noise at Plainmoor. We have a die-hard, I'd say 2,000. I mean, our away support this season, considering where we are in the country, the distances we have to travel. I mean, we took 251 to York on Saturday, last Saturday, with a train strike.
Yeah.
I think maybe with the fact York had a new ground may have inflated the numbers somewhat, but we're still taking 150. I think we took 206 to Wealdstone. The Yellow Army are a loyal lot, and at the moment, you're more likely to have a better time away from home, away from Plainmoor, than you are at Plainmoor. And I don't think we're going to have many, not 2,000. I think if we break 1,500, I think that would probably be respectable, all things considered.
Yeah,
and it is a nice ground, Plainmoor, and I know I'm biased as a Torquay fan, but I think the problem we had that year in the National League South was before Gary Johnson came in, was I think a lot of teams up their game against us at Plainmoor without trying to sound big-headed. And I've been negative throughout this whole video about Torquay, so I need to embrace some positivity in here. But we have got a nice ground at this level. It's Football League quality. I mean, we've been a Football League club for over 80 years in the past. And I think a lot of people still have that mindset of, because we were a Football League club, we should be in the Football League, and to get so close and to mess it up. But anyway, it'll be it's one of the nicer grounds in the National League. I mean, when you compare it to, say, Wealdstone, Boreham Wood, but then you've also got, on the flip side, you've got clubs like Notts County and Wrexham who've got big grounds. So the National League is such a beast this year. It's such a different animal, and especially with the money that certain clubs are putting into it now, it just makes it harder and harder to be successful, especially if you're a club with ambitions to be in the Football League, but you just don't have that huge, the money and the revenue to do it. I mean, Wrexham have been in here 18 years. They've put in money in the past, not to the extent they've got now, but when they beat us 6-0, I mean, they've got League One quality players in that squad. It's just crazy, and it's so difficult to compete with. But for us, we used to have issues beating the smaller teams, the part-time sides, the ones that train twice a week, 3 times a week. We just could never beat them, especially away from home. And if we don't start well, I do wonder how that's going to affect the atmosphere, because we at Torquay are not one for keeping opinions to ourselves. If we see something that's going wrong, we'll let the players know about it.
I did rewatch the highlights from the National League South game, and I think I was I was impressed with the cheer from the Hampton fans when our goal went in. But what was also noticeable was the booing from the home supporters.
Yes.
I think you were on commentary that day, Rob. So you'll probably.
Well, we didn't actually do commentary at that stage.
Oh, we didn't.
No, we didn't, because that was 2018. We didn't actually do it then. But
I remember now. I had to listen to Torquay's radio.
No, I was there doing. I don't know whether I was doing social media or whether I was what I was doing that season. But yeah, that was, a little bit. It was impressive, the fact that A, we made the noise, and 2, as soon as that second goal went in, everybody just piled on the back of Gary Howers. That was it. He was, he was public enemy number 1 within the ground, and it was, it was one of those occasions. I mean, I enjoyed the day. Well, you would if you win, but I also enjoyed the fact of visiting Plainmoor. I'm originally from the north of England, and there's 1 or 2 grounds up there that I've been to, but down here, following Hampton and Richmond, it's sometimes just nice to get to a bigger ground where you've got the facilities, and you don't have to, you don't have the issues that you might have, as you quite rightly said, possibly, going to the likes of Wealdstone. And other grounds like that. It's nice to go to these bigger grounds, but I can easily see on Saturday that if in the first half hour it's a very even game, there's not much happening, Torquay are not making chances, and what chances they are making, Hampton are basically keeping them out. I can see the crowd turning, and you'll see it at other games, but this Saturday, not being able to get a win at home, this stage into the season, it's going to almost like be it's going to be desperation. We want to win at home, we want to win in the cup, and as soon as that doesn't appear to be coming, I'd be very surprised if the crowd didn't turn a bit on the players, a bit on the management, because they're expecting better. And I think if I was a Torquay United supporter, I would be expecting, but I would say, come on, why are we played 6 games at home and we can't win? We can win away, but we can't win here. Why? And that's the problem. If you don't get your wins at home, you're not going to have a good season. We've found it for years, David. David, we've found it for years. We've traditionally, for a few seasons now, been slightly better away from home than at home. And, it does make it hard when you can't get the results on your own turf. And if it doesn't come out in the first half hour, by the time you get to the halftime whistle, the second half could be a bit... It could be difficult, it could be tricky, and it could be one decision by the referee, a mistake by a defender,
a worldie by one of the strikers that'll settle the game. And then, if it goes the wrong way, and we sneak away from Plainmoor, having got a draw, or even going through to the next round, that's going to make for a difficult time down with you, Tom, and that's not where you want to be, because you don't want to come back to the National League South anymore. You've tried it once, you don't. I don't think you really want to come back.
No. The thing about us as Torquay fans at home is I've seen many a Torquay side over the years, and you almost sort of get used to the fact that you just accept that you're going to be. I don't know if I can swear on here, but
we can always.
You're going to.
It's fine. It's fine.
Okay, you assume most times they're just going to be. But the problem, another issue as well, is we have such a young squad this year. Most of the squad are under 22, 23, and they're all starting their journey sort of into the professional men's game. And we've got a couple of experienced players. We've got Asa Hall, who's in midfield, but he's more often than not, he's not starting because he's not fit enough to do 90 minutes. You've got Dean Moxey, who used to be a Premier League player in his time. Slowly sort of made his way down the ladder, and he's been one of probably the best players that we've had this season. His experience is vital, but you take him out the squad a couple of games, and you've got a lot of young players in there. And when we were all young, criticism's hard to take, hard to accept, and you've got to try and. What I hope would happen is this game will be the turning point for you guys. In my opinion, anyway, it's a free hit. Whatever, if you lose, okay, fair enough. We've lost to Torquay; they're one division above us. If you get a replay or a win out of it, then it's a fantastic result for you. So it's just like I said. There's a lot going on behind the scenes at Torquay it's making the place not the best place to be at the moment. I mean, again, we've got owners who are trying to move us out of Plainmoor. They want us to move into sort of a complex that York City have got, where it's all retail and a big all-seater stadium. But then that trickles down to, then the budget's been cut after a couple of years where we've really gone for promotion. And now we find ourselves, I look at the players in our squad and think we shouldn't be in the bottom of this division with the players that we've got. I keep saying it on our Talkie Talk videos, but the potential I believe that we have in this squad is really good. But unfortunately, most of them are not reaching at that potential, or maybe they're just not good enough for this football club. And I agree, relegation to the National League South would be a disaster for us. The stature of the club, the size of it, you're never too big to go down. Let me put that out right now.
True.
We respected the National League South when we were in it, but it's just it would be a completely different thing if we got relegated. But it's only October. There's still time to turn it around. If we're still in the bottom four, rock bottom by February, March time, then that's when you've really got to start worrying. For us, this game, I've been saying it, this is the biggest game of the season for us, purely because if we can get a win, then hopefully that'll be the confidence booster we need to spring step and kickstart our season. But if anything other than a win, then it would just be disastrous. And I just don't see how Gary could survive, unfortunately. I keep saying I'm not Gary in, I'm not Gary out, but it's, as much as I love Gary Frawley, some at the football club, I'm a Torquay United supporter at the end of the day. We all are at Torquay, and we just want what's best for the football club. And there's almost a sense of maybe the end of an era is approaching with Gary Johnson, because we all assumed, he gets in the Football League and that's it. He can say, that's it, I'm done. Off he goes. He made a very interesting comment against York, that does he have confidence in the players? And he said most of them.
That is,
and we've had it in the past where he's brought players in, they've not cut the mustard, and they've been shipped out. I just don't know if we can afford to replace the players. I don't even think we can afford to replace the manager. It's tough times being a Torquay fan, but I look over my shoulder, I look at all the pictures of me and my mates, the good times when we were winning playoff final. You support your football club through thick and thin. I'll never, ever criticise when the game's on. I will be supporting the team 90 minutes, hoping for a win. But I'm not going to be one here to, just because, we won the National League South a few years ago, that I'm just going to sort of gloss over the fact that we're now bottom of the National League with the worst goal difference. I think one of the lowest goals scored in the division. But the things we do for our club, we're all going down this weekend. We're going to have a good weekend. I suppose for you guys as well, it's like Torquay is still a nice place to go for a weekend.
Yeah, well, I mean it's only a bit further than the league game we were due to have anyway, so...
True, yeah.
Well, we're due to be away at Weymouth, weren't we? So,
Yes. It's not too much. It's not that much further, and I know there's quite a few people who have decided to make a weekend of it, or travelling down on Friday, coming back after on Saturday, and just making a weekend of it.
Well,
and
when I come back, depends on the result, I think.
That is very true. That is very true. Yes.
Well, it could be 5 minutes after the game. Let's be. But no, Tom, thank you for your very honest opinion. I think, Rob, if I'm wrong, obviously, I sort of stepped in more as host here between you two. But I think if Hampton did not go into this game thinking that, again, no disrespect, Torquay weren't for the taking, we'd be wrong.
Yeah, true. I'm pretty sure Gary's going to go something along those lines, saying we have to respect the club for who they are. We have to respect them for where they've come from. But on perform and on current results, he's going to have to send out the players to think you've got a chance to win this. And as you quite rightly said, Tom, for Hampton, there's no pressure. It's a free hit. They can go out, play the game, get the experience from playing in front of a crowd, 1,500, 2,000. That's one thing that, will stand them in good stead for quite a while. That experience of playing at a bigger ground with an atmosphere, and you can't buy that. So I'm sure that Gary will be saying, we'll have no disrespect, but let's go and do all we can to try and win this, as long as we don't get Oldham for a third time.
Well, we have already said, whoever wins this game has got Oldham in the next round. So, because this is Hampton's now regular 2-year anniversary of playing Oldham in the FA Cup. So
it's true. Yes.
Difference is we haven't played Hornchurch this year yet, although they're still in it as well, aren't they?
Yes,
they are. So we could meet Hornchurch. So it's Hornchurch or Oldham in the next round, whoever it is.
Yeah. Oh, I'm convinced if we win, we're getting Carlisle away. That's just.
Well, I guess all we can do is see what the results bring on Saturday. Know if we're going to have to go again on Tuesday.
That's true. You'll get a warm welcome. You'll get a warm welcome from us. Boots and Laces, the bar at the club's open to away fans, and we're a nice bunch. We're just going through tough times at the moment, but that's because we're all passionate. We're all passionate for our team. We all want to do well. We know the potential that we've seen where we've been in the past. We just want to get back there, but I think you've not been given the away end in the terracing, which is a little bit annoying, but that's just normal, unfortunately, for a lot of the travelling clubs. But you'll have a great view from Bristow's bench, and you'll make a good racket out of there as well. But yeah, please enjoy the weekend. Results aside, fingers crossed. I mean, if it goes to a replay at the Beverly, best of luck, and we'll all be there, I'm sure. And whatever happens, results aside, this weekend, I'm at the Bev quite a few times. Dave, you and Jason have introduced me to the wonderful world of Hampton and Richmond Borough Football Club and welcome me in with open arms. And whatever happens, hopefully, no respect will be lost. It'll just be, just one will have bragging rights and the other won't. And
exactly. And
you did beat us in the National League South, so
we've got it. I was just going to say before we do sort of final predictions for the weekend ahead, although we may, I don't know, maybe we want to gloss over those. But our history, of course, we've only played each other twice in our history. Rob, I don't believe there's any more games hiding in the archives there.
No. That's one thing that there isn't.
We have only played each other twice at Plainmoor on the 25th of August 2018. Tom, you're not going to be reminded of that day, but that was a Hampton 2-0 win.
I don't think you're ever going to let me forget.
And then, of course, you came to the Bev on my sister's birthday, 22nd of December 2018, and you took away a 3-0 win at the Bev. Now, the most interesting thing, one is obviously the home teams in those games did not score. But what is also interesting, according to my list anyway, both halftime scores were 1-0 to the away side. So there you go. There's a little fact to take away. 1-0 halftime to the away team. There we go. Do I dare ask what we think the weekend may hold as a result? So, Rob,
for me, I'm actually going to be quite optimistic and say I think it'll be a draw, and I think it'll be a tough Tuesday night game back here at Bev next week. Okay,
so a draw from you. Goalless or score?
Oh, I think it'd be a score draw because we can score at Hampton, but unfortunately we can't seem to keep too many clean sheets. So, yeah, I can say I think it'd be a scoring draw.
Okay, Tom.
I've got to go with a Torquay win. I said in our York video a 2-1 Torquay win. That's what I'll stick with.
Yeah, no, that sounds fair. And I think I agree with Rob's synopsis earlier on, actually, in that I think I honestly think a draw, or I know this is sitting on the fence. It's going to be a nicked goal from either a worldie or an officiating decision. I'm not going to say whether that's the right or wrong decision at this stage. But it's going to
be the wrong decision, Dave.
Yeah,
it's going to be the wrong decision. The referees we've had in the National League this year, just don't get me started. That's another video in itself.
Yeah, no, of course. But I've had the
in that case, Tom, don't ask us about the referee we had last Saturday.
Yeah, don't ask about the Welling official.
A
foul given that wasn't a foul, and then booked the wrong player anyway.
Oh, we're still reading from the playoff final a couple of years ago. 2 disallowed goals for absolutely nothing.
Yes, yeah.
That's just.
As long as they are
for the fine margins in the National League.
As long as they are poor for both sides or good, that's all we ask for.
Indeed.
I guess consistency, even if it's bad consistency, that's fine. So anyway, it looks like the favourite is a draw on Saturday. 2 teams that are really going to want to fight it out. And it's one of those FA Cup days. So put the league form in the bin. Put the history or our Hampton's run of the last 2 rounds in the bin, because it doesn't matter. It's down to 1 game and 90 minutes, isn't it?
Indeed it is.
Unfortunately, Rob, we won't see you there. You'll be having to listen to Radio Beaver, I guess.
Yeah, because 4th qualifying round weekend is always the weekend of my wedding anniversary.
Yep. So
congratulations.
Can't quite get away with that one, Rob, can you?
No, it's a bit of a stretch to try and get from Dublin down to Torquay on Saturday morning. It's a bit of a push.
Fly to Exeter, mate. That can be done.
Yeah, not too far.
I think I'd get missed if I did, and also I might have to make my own way home.
You may do. I'm sure there's a minibus you can jump under. Jump under, jump on.
Yeah.
Probably not.
Right.
But anyway.
I was going to say, if you get desperate, we do. We're on social media, Twitter, Facebook. I mean, we do live match updates. All the games we go to. We're on YouTube. We're on TikTok. So there's plenty of ways to follow the game and listen to our weekly. It's therapy sessions we're calling it at the moment. Talk therapy.
Tom, give us a 30-second promo for Torquay Talk then.
So we've been running Torquay Talk since, I believe, 2018. It's run by Don Roman, who's a great guy, diehard Torquay fan. We write articles on everything from match verdicts down to player reviews, down to away days, views of grounds and stuff. So there's a lot of content on there, and we're on torquaytalk.com. Again, we're on all social media aspects. We record YouTube videos every week, reviews and highlights, and it's slowly gaining traction, and we all enjoy it. So if you're on YouTube, on social media, give us a like, give us a subscribe, all that jazz. Just honest Torquay fans here for the ride. That is the Yellow Submarine, which
And I will
Hopefully
say,
he won't be in the National League South next year.
even if you don't follow Torquay, they are a good listen. Just to hear about what's happening in the National League as a whole, to be honest. So we'll link you in the comments on this video as well, or the blurb at the bottom, whatever it's called. I can't really
thanks for having this all arranged as well. It's been a good chat. I've enjoyed this one.
You're welcome. And obviously this will go on Hampton's official channels, but we will add that myself and Rob in this video have absolutely no official position for the club, speaking as we do right now. It's all for a bit of fun, and hopefully, it's getting to know each other before we play. And we'll see how Saturday goes. Of course, you'll be able to catch up with all the live match footage if you're a Hampton fan on our Twitter, on our social medias, and on Radio Beaver. And of course, if you're a Torquay fan, you'll be able to get all your match coverage from the normal Torquay United places. Guys, we'll look forward. Rob, sadly not, but we'll look forward to seeing you on Saturday at Plainmoor, Tom. And who knows, maybe back at the Beverly on Tuesday. We will see.
Yes. Be good to see you all guys at the Beverly in a couple of weeks anyway, and chat over the full-time results. Just play nice if you win, because I can't take much more this season.
Tom, I'll guarantee there will be many beers bought for you at the Bev on probably the Concord game if you're there. If Hampton do take the result, I will commit to that now.
Perfect.
Especially if you wear a Torquay shirt.
Well, we are playing in the 5:20 kickoff afterwards, so on TV,
true,
BT Sport that day. So
there is that.
I'll let you wear your Torquay shirt underneath.
Unless we beat you 5-0. But...
Yeah, you might not want to wear that. Right then, guys. I'll let you on to your evening and your preparations for the weekend.